The step drag is the most basic way for a white to yellow belt or an advanced practitioner to actually create or to close that critical distance between themselves and the opponent. And the critical distance in our case, Henry, would you help me for a second? The critical distance in our case is usually defined as the gap. And the gap is usually the space of a foot and a half or a leg and a half. Because in this case, I cannot reach Henry, but I can slide to him. And if that distance, if I can cover that, he's within the gap. Anytime Henry is outside that gap, so I'm just at the leg and a half, maybe a little bit more, anytime he's outside of that, that is our critical distance. We call it the gap. And to cover that gap, I have to use any amount of techniques to do that because it's a difficult thing to do. Otherwise, I'd have to walk straight into him. He can see me moving. He can move off at an angle, or he can just simply blast me as I come in. And so that's the purpose for trying to close the gap. Now, the biggest mechanism we're going to use for closing the gap is the step drag. The step drag is a very basic technique. You see it in all sorts of different arts. You see it in different styles of karate, kung fu, kempo, and of course you see it in boxing. You're also going to see one of the techniques that we use. We are very much emphasizing what you're going to see in a lot of the Japanese arts, and that is keeping your toes down. Because the important thing in closing the gap, there's no sense in closing the gap on an opponent if you can't get near him. Okay? If we're not getting close to him, then we haven't done it right. Okay? So the point of having the toes down is to keep your head from bobbing up and down. So the basic mechanism of this technique, the step drag, that's the technique we're doing, is the step drag, is very simple. Keeping our toes down, we slide forward with our front foot while we push off and drag. We slide and push. We slide and push. And when I turn that way. We slide and push. We slide and push. Every time we return to this position, when I come, I'm back in the same position. My feet are back in the same position. My feet have not moved. Okay, I didn't go like this. I didn't go like this. Okay, every time that I do it, I'm here, my toes are down. Okay, now I'm going to do it right at the camera. When I come at the camera, watch my head. You'll notice my head is not bobbing. And that's because I'm keeping my toes down. When I keep my toes down, there's minimal movement to the head. So I turn. And once again, minimal movement to the head. You can't eliminate all movement to the head, but if you keep your toes up, you'll see that this happens. So if you watch my toes, okay, so now you watch my head. Okay, when I keep my toes up, you see my head come up, it also causes my chin to go up, which will get you knocked out. And that's the basic behind the step drag. Now, this is a great way to practice the step drag with the cross out. Okay? So I'll be in my fighting position. I'm going to be the aggressor. I'm going to step drag on Henry. He's going to cross out. I'm going to step drag. He's going to cross out. He's going to step drag. No, wait, you press out. Okay. He step drags on me. I cross out. He step drags again. I cross out. My turn. Step drag. Step drag. Step drag. Step drag. He step drags. He step drags. And now we're working angles. We're working back and forth. It's a great way to practice those two techniques.